Welcome everyone to the MHCP Mentor Office Hours. Asset Improv is what we're doing today, and this is going to be fun. This should be fun. You'll definitely see me go through a thinking process. And also I will make mistakes along the way, and then I will go through the process of problem solving. I'm hoping that the mistakes are like big mistakes, because these are things that we definitely come across like while we're doing these like 3D models and 3D assets, you know? And it's good to know how to get yourself back on track. So, skills matrix alignment, we are in the art section of this. Um, Specifically assets, the design and creation of static meshes for use as world environments or items, props, wearables, characters, including meshes and textures. All right, so important info is this session is recorded. This session will be posted in the Learn site. While I'm trying to, give you guys really good information, just mute yourself. I always like for people to chime in and speak to me. But for the most part, you guys get the idea. Raise your hand and use the Zoom raise hand function to ask a question, and I'll get right to you. Keep questions concise. Share context beforehand. So post your question with details in the channel prior if possible. Okay, that's new. Be active in the chat, please. Like, let's party it up. Seriously, I don't mind you guys talking to me, especially this is a decent sized group. So definitely let's chat. Fill out the survey at the end. Your input helps improve future sessions. So yeah, that's going to be the survey I send afterwards, and definitely be brutally honest with that. Really give insight, because this really helps mold the future of our workshops and sessions and stuff. And also, I know we have forums now. Definitely reach out in the forums, post your work in the forums. And also, if you are in the Discord, use the appropriate channels and so on and so forth. Try your best not to DM me. Just yeah, use the appropriate channels. All right, so I always like to go through these, the levelers to success. Of course, we have documentation. Study the documentation. Listen, we try to update these documents a lot, and they are, for the most part, they should help. They should be like on hand while you're doing things. But also, of course, use the forums. Practice. The more you do, the more you retain. Hands-on experience is key. So definitely, if you feel like discouraged about something, you're trying to get a shape going in your modeling, I say keep at it, trust the process. The more you practice, the more you get it. I if you want it, you'll do it. That's all I have to say. And don't be afraid to ask for help. Use your resources, guys. Like, we are all here to help. We have a really great community, and I'm sorry if you are hearing all the Discord dings. Use your resources, guys, because it will be key to your success. We are all here to help each other. Okay, and so today I figured we can start with a treasure chest. And my question to you is, if you found a treasure chest, what would be in it? So you guys can chime in now if you want. Hop in the chat, or you can unmute yourself. It's fine. Mimic. Yes. I was thinking about doing that and like putting some teeth inside, but I'm going to keep it super simple. Lots of money. A new hat. Oh, that's cute. A cool magic book. Some Bitcoin. Capes. Okay. Oh, how about a Game of Thrones reference? Some three dragon eggs. Okay. All right. So I have my avatar friend. I always like to have him as a reference, because, theoretically, it's nice to build your models with, you know, sense of space in mind. And now let's take a look at, now when you're doing a 3D model, it's nice to have a reference image, you know? Always do your research. I usually like to use this program called PureRef. PureRef is really cool to have, and it's free. Basically, you can use it as a kind of like an idea board. Here's my reference image. I can pin this to the top. And now if I were to go into Blender, I could just move, you know, I could just have this right on top. It's really cool. And I will give you the link to PureRef. It is actually really useful tool, especially if you're into art and modeling and concepting and all that. Even game design, you could put some notes in there and stuff. So let me get back to it. Alrighty, so let's look at this treasure chest. So when you look at this treasure chest, what shapes do you see as the base of the model? And you guys can chime in.
Box, half a cylinder.
Yes. Yeah, a cube and a half a cylinder. That's right. So let's go ahead. Yep. And let's do a Shift A. And I'm going to go ahead and create a cube. And I'd like to scale it down, of course, because it's huge. So I'm going to do scale. And I'd like to also bring this above the grid. How I'm going to do that, I'm going to go ahead, bring this guy. I'm going to do G, Z on the Z axis, and I'm going to scale it. I think this will be a decent size treasure chest. And I could also go into the orthographic view by pressing 3 once more. And I'm going to scale this. I'm going to press S to scale, and I'm going to press X. And I'm going to make it, I think that's good. I think that's a pretty decent size. So if I were to change the views, yeah, you could fit an entire person in there. Anywho, and let's take our friend here and hide him for a second. Cool. Because I like to use the center of the grid to model my assets. And if you were putting together an environment per se, you could use these assets afterwards and just place them. But when it comes to individual tiny assets, not tiny, but small assets like this, I usually like to do it in a separate file and just build it along the mid of the grid itself. Okay, and now let's create that cylinder. So I'm going to do Shift A, mesh, and I'm going to do cylinder. Alrighty, and let's see about this cylinder. I'm gonna just move this buddy aside really quick. And I'm gonna bring these vertices down because I don't think we need it to be that expensive. I think 16 is fine. Yeah, I think that's good. And then we also would like to rotate this. So I'm gonna press R. And then I'm gonna rotate by the Y axis, Y. And I'm gonna press 90 for 90 degrees. Now we have a nice 90-degree angle, and I'm going to scale this down. G, Z, bring it up. I think that's pretty decent. I'm gonna go to my orthographic view. And as you can see, I have not left the center of the grid. I like to keep everything there because it allows me to be a little more symmetrical with my build, you know, make sure that everything is nice and organized as such. So let's scale this down. I think that's good. G and then Z. Mind you, as I'm building, I'm truly using the axis. So of course I have the Y axis, which is this green line, the X axis. And this basically allows me to really navigate the space. You know, the knowledge of these axes is really helpful. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to press S, and then I'm going to scale along the X axis. And as you can see, there we go. Now I'm pretty solid. I mean, it's not perfect, but honestly, I really don't mind. Okay. And so I'm going to do this. Usually I do like to use modifiers, but I'm going to do this without the modifier um, as much as I can. So what I'm going to do in subdivision surface modifier, as we all know, is my friend. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start working out this model. And the way I'm going to start is the bottom here. I'd like to isolate it. So instead of like turning on and off these eyeballs here, I usually like to do the / key on my keyboard. And as you can see, the rest of it disappears. If I press / again, this item comes back in. So I'm going to press /. And now if you are if your keyboard for any reason doesn't have that / I believe it's view selected. No, that's actually to zoom in. Anyways, I'm not going to get caught up on that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to / and then I'm going to press tab to edit mode, right? Now that I'm in edit mode, there's a few things I want to start off with. So let's look at this guy. So first off, I'd like to get this initial shape in here very simply, very easily. Oh, the F key. Yeah. So the F key will work in Maya. The F key will work absolutely in the desktop editor, but Blender decides to be a little different. And basically, and let me just give you an idea. So let's say we are zoomed out and we don't know where our item is. As long as our item is selected, we can press the period key on our number pad. If you have one of those really long keyboards, the number pad, the period key will help you get to center. If you don't have that, if I were to press the tilde key under the escape key and I go view selected, I'll zoom right back in. Knowing that is super duper 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 helpful. Okay, so let's get back to modeling this guy. So I'm going to press tab and I'm going to go to face select mode on the upper left-hand side. And I want to kind of block out the initial shape. Like I stated before, I'll do the bottom too. The top, I'll do something a little different. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to press I for inset. And as you can see, there's something going on here, right? We don't want that. Actually, there we go. What I want to do is do individual, right? So let's Control Z out of that. Okay. Now if I press inset again, now it's doing the thing. However, the shape is weird. I think I might have done something crazy. So hold on a second. Let me try that again. Alrighty. I for inset. Yeah, it's still shaped a little weird, but that's okay. Do no, it's not what I want. There we go. So I did offset relative, so they should be about the same now. However, they're kind of small at the moment, so I could just adjust like this, and that is pretty solid. Oh yeah. Okay, cool. Very good. So now that I have that underway, there's another thing I'd like to do, and it would be this. So I'm going to press I for inset. Actually, I'd like to adjust this so I could press scale and by Y. Okie dokie. So that is pretty solid as well. And now I could press E and extrude down. Now I have the inside of my treasure chest, and I can put all the really cool items that I want in there. How'd you fix the inset individually? All right, so I'll give you an example. Let's say I have these guys and I want to press I. Never do that, by the way. But I'm going to click off individual and try this again. So basically, when you're here, right, and you press inset, right, the menu over here on the bottom left-hand side pops up, and it will look like this. If I were to click off, you can't Control Z and get back to that. You have to do the function again. So if I press Control Z and undo everything I did, and then I were to press I for inset, now I have this menu pop up on the bottom left-hand side. So what we're going to do is we're going to open that up, and then we're going to choose what we want. So I'm going to do individual. And now I have my individual items, and then I can fix the thickness here. And of course, you can fix the depth. So you could do like some really funky stuff with the geometry with these items. So when you do any special, tasks, basically there's going to be a menu that pops up in here. So for example, if I were to press E to extrude, another task, another drop down opens up here. So when you're doing things, definitely pay attention to this bottom left-hand side, because this is kind of like your companion. But remember, you would have to redo the function in order to get back to this menu. So this is really important to know. So I'm going to do Control Z out of this. All right, cool. Now what I'd like to do is I'd like to take these guys and I'd like to Alt E, extrude faces along normals. And that assures me that these guys are going in the proper direction of what the normals are facing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this in, but as you can see, I'm crashing through the inside of this treasure chest. So I don't want to go that deep, right? I think that's pretty solid. I'd like to do offset even because I did see proportional editing. No, the heck. I messed it up. It's okay. All right, so I'm going to do it again because these things happen. When you make a mistake, you make happy trees. All right, Alt E, faces along normals. Should be offset even, but as you can see, the thickness here is a little strange, but I'll take it. It's fine. Not a deal breaker for me at the moment. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click off into space and let's take a look at what we have. So the thing is, there's a few things that I need, including I'll need an edge loop to go from here to here. And the reason for that is I need parts of this to extrude just a little more. Actually, that might be along the top. So if I were to look at this guy here, actually, this top here overlaps, right? And then these guys are pretty much like inset a little bit. And then this bottom piece is inset. And now I'm not following this like perfectly. However, let's just get the idea of it and then we can make it our own. And I'm a big fan of making these items my own. And also, I like these little foots at the edges of this guy. But let's figure out how we're going to make this possible. So for example, I will definitely need to connect some verts. As you can see, I am all triangulated on the sides here. But we can fix that. And this is definitely part of the troubleshooting skills that you need. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to press K for knife tool, and I'm going to just select, enter. You see, I created basically an edge loop on this side, and I'll need to do the same for the others. And this is a good way to know this tool in particular because it's really important. The only thing is, as you can see, I did my knife tool. However, there's something wrong here. So what's wrong is it's crooked, right? And honestly, we could use this like offset and crooked and all that. But honestly, like try not to do that too much. And just trust me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to Control Z. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to press K, select my vertice, and then I'm going to press X. Now it's slicing along the X axis, which is exactly what I want. So I'm going to select, I'm going to turn, but then I'm going to press Y. And now I'm cutting along the Y axis. And now I have a really nice straight line here. So I'm going to do K again. And then I'm going to do Z. And as you can see, I'm cutting along the Z axis. I kid you not, this tool is really, really, and of course I need to do the bottom as well. And to be honest, I kind of want to just delete the bottom. Yeah, I might do that because I want to skip steps. Let's skip some steps. Why not? And we can fill that later with the fill tool. And I can show you guys basis. All right, cool. All righty. So I'm going to do it again. K, Z, boom. We're doing some cuts. All righty. K, Z, enter, A, Y, enter. And remember, I am doing this for reasons. So I'm going to press X, enter. Honestly, like this part is my most favorite. I know it's kind of weird, but I do like fixing geometry. The more you learn how to fix geometry, the better your outcomes will be because eventually, let's say you download an asset or anything, like you need to go back and fix your work. Knowing this stuff is really truly important. It's a lifesaver, actually. So, KY, enter. I'm just going to speed through this part and keep going so that we don't get too stuck on it. Doing some nice manual. These are kind of like manual loop cuts. So, and all right, cool. And now we could do some fun extrusions. So for example, I could go in and I can do this guy. Well, actually, you know what? As far as geometry is concerned, we don't need this to be triangles, right? And in my experience, I usually like to delete these lines. Let's see how that works out. So I'm going to do delete edge. Nope, that didn't work. Yes, it's control delete. Control delete. Control delete. Control delete and repeat. Rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. And the reason for that is we made a try into a quad, right? Really helpful. I mean, I could have went about this way differently. However, this is really important to know. Oh, yes. Oh my gosh, this guy right here is super duper helpful as far as direction. And when you get into like scripting and stuff, knowing the orientation of your item is key, especially if you want to set your stuff at Z forward. But I'm getting ahead of myself at the moment. But yes, this is your compass on the upper right hand side, but also on the grid will give you which way to go. And of course, up and down is that Z axis. Really, really important to know. I've actually had people build their models upside down, right? Um, and sometimes it's easy to get yourself lost like that. Um, however, this could kind of mess you up, especially if you're using modifiers like mirror modifier and all that. It's best to yes, yeah. So definitely be mindful of this guy. This Z, solid Z should always be at the top. That's Z positive. And all these guys, of course, are negative. So this would be Y negative, this would be Z negative, X negative, and so on and so forth. So it's really important to get a handle of your direction. Okay, so let's do some extrusion. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take these guys. And then I'm going to uh, Alt E, extrude faces along normals. That is our friend. But as you can see, there's a little funkiness going on. And we could fix that by using offset even. And now we're pretty solid. Except this direction I'm not really a fan of. So I could just select those faces and make those a little even. Why not? And then I'm going to press S to scale along the Y axis. And I'm just going to nudge that a little bit and be everything is good with the world. Yes. All right. I kind of like it. Although there is a slight adjustment I wouldn't mind doing. And it's okay to do these kind of adjustments. So for example, this feels a little short. I'd like it to be a little taller. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select these faces. Select, select, select. And then, yeah. Okay, cool. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just go G for grab and Z. And as you can see, now I can adjust this a little higher. I think that's good. That's to my liking. And yeah, solid. Yeah, I could stand here forever and just nudge things to to be like the absolute perfectionist. However, let's not do that today, Space Glitter. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do some more knife tools. So I'm going to press K, and then I'm going to do Y, so I'm nice and straight. X. Make sure that when you have that knife tool, you snap into those vertices. You kind of like see the visual snapping, you see? And then I'm going to press X. I'm going to turn this. Y. Enter. You see? Now it's pretty solid. So I have a question for you guys. How many of us do our turning and panning with these tools at the side? Give me a thumbs up if you use these tools to navigate. Sometimes. So I'm going to tell you, stop it. Stop that right now. And I'll tell you why. Sometimes it's yeah, so sometimes what happens is, yeah, you kind of get lost in orientation and stuff. So use I absolutely use the compass. However, get your muscle memory used to using those hotkeys, using your using your mouse, using your keyboard, because I kid you not, knowing the hotkeys and knowing how to navigate without those tools will make you super efficient, fast, knowing the space is so super super duper helpful and key. I promise you. It I've had one-on-ones where I'm like, what are you doing? Don't touch that. Do not touch that gizmo. Like that's basically how I am, because I know how important it is to just understand the space like that. And the same would go for using the desktop editor as well. Like you have to use those hotkeys. I kid you not. It will just make life so much easier. So I'm going to keep pressing K for knife tool. Let me get back to it, because I could sit here and rant on and on about why you should use your hotkeys. All right, it looks like I have one more. So I'm going to press K for knife tool. Whoops. Am I in the wrong? Yeah, I'm good. Here we are. Bam. All righty. So let's do some extrusion on that. And I think the base would be just about done. Actually, I forgot the top. Oh, I forgot the top. Hold on a second. Actually, no, I'm good. I am good. Yeah, I got this. So what I could do is I could do a this. And I'll just leave those tries there because I'm going to spend too much time tweaking instead of actually doing. And that's fine. So I'm going to do Alt E, extrude faces along normals. And I think that thickness is good. And of course, I'd like to do the offset even. However, I do not like how this stretching is going on the top here. So what I'll do is I'm going to do G and then Y. Oh, I'm just kidding. It's scale and then Y. My bad, guys. And that seems about correct. All right, very cool. The thing is that I would like for this treasure chest to be more of a stylized treasure chest. So I'd like to give it some movement and dancey shapes. You understand? So one thing I can do is hold on. I could take these faces, why not, and use the proportional editing. I'll use these as my guides. And then what I'll do is I'll turn on that proportional editing. And if I press S, now I'm taking things with me. And as you can see, now it's a little more dancy. I'd like to bring this in just a smidge. I think that's good. What do you guys think? Maybe scale it a little bit more. Yeah, now she's a little more dancy. I could also, like for a stylized approach, I could do Control R and then I'll put an edge loop right there. And I can also scale from there. So if I press S and I can do. Look at that. Now it's got a little more character, you know? If you want it to be a little more beveled, of course you could do Control B and give it a bevel. Now it has a bit of a smoother transition. You see? A little squeezed in. All right, cool. Now let's do a little more stuff. So for example, let's go back to our object mode. And of course, I put a little corset on it because why not? If I were to do kind of like a right click shade smooth, of course, that is not going to look nice. Does anybody know the reason why it doesn't look nice at the moment? What happens when I did shade smooth?
Are you like missing the details of it?
Yeah, so I'm basically missing a lot of like the bevels and stuff, right? It turned into an AI model. Yes, theoretically, yeah, that's pretty much what happens. If I were to Control Z, and if I were to like add some bevels in places that I wanted to hold, um, it will fix it. However, I'm not going to do all those details now. I want to basically think more of the main structure of this first. And the reason why I like to do it that way is I like to build out the shape of my model, make sure it's 100% what I want, and then what I like to do is after everything is modeled and UV'd, because I like to do my UV cuts before I do my detailing. And the reason for that is you're going to end up with extra loop cuts and you're not going to know which loop cuts to click on. I mean, of course, I would definitely know. However, it just makes life just that much easier. So, and I'll show you afterwards. I'm going to keep it super simple for now. Alrighty, so I'm going to press / and let's do the top of our treasure chest. And so, for example, I'm going to do a / and let's get to work. Actually, it's that line. Yeah, that's that midline. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to press 3 for that orthographic view, and I'd like to turn it. And I'm going to press tab for that edit mode. I'm going to do a few things, like for example, I'm going to turn on my toggle X-ray. So, and of course the shortcut is what is it? The Alt Z. However, I don't like to use the shortcut for that because uh that one is a little confusing because right away I'm going to Control Z and just undo what I did. So I'm going to just use this toggle on the top. I'm going to go to face select mode and I'm going to delete half. Delete. And I'm going to do faces. Oh, geez. Delete. Hold on. Only edges and faces? No. Ugh, are you kidding me? Faces. Wait. Am I bugging? Am I bugging? Faces. Ah, whatever. Oh, that's why. I was bugging. All right, that's fine. You know what though? No, we can manually do that. Absolutely fine. Okay. So I have these edges and let's rebuild that, right? With proper geometry. And so what we're going to do is first off, we're going to play around with that bridge edge loop. And I really like to use that tool. So what I'm going to do is toggle that X-ray mode again. I'm going to do the edge select, and I'm going to take this guy and right click, and I'm going to bridge edge loop. Look at that. I really like that tool. Right click. Oh, just kidding. I did bevel edges, bridge edge loop, and let me do one more time. Edge loop, and then we could just do a fill here. F to fill that up, and that's fine. This is not an end gun. Anything more than four sides is an end gun, and we don't want those. However, we are sticking to our quads and our tris. So I'm going to do that again. I'm going to right click, bridge edges. I'm just kidding. What did I do? I'm going too fast and I'm not reading. And that happens. Don't be so hasty, guys, like me. Bridge edge loops. Right click, bridge edge loops. Time's a ticking. Time's a ticking. All right, cool. Now I have my initial shape. Let's do some more things. So for example, now we have these loopy doos on top, right? So let's see how we're going to do that. Okay, so, but I'm going to make it my own, of course. So for example, what I'd like to do is do a Control R, and I'm going to do 2 of these loops. Let me see something. So I'm going to do X, I'm going to do G, and then X. No, that's not going to work. And I know why. Yeah, no. Should be the X. All right, so Control R. Is it Y? See, knowing thy space. Okay, so I'm gonna do Control R. No, it's not working. Mirroring's not working. It's all right. I'll do it manually. It's not a big deal. I'm gonna press 7, and I'm gonna use these guidelines as my guidelines. So I'm gonna do Control R, and I'm going to just slide this over. I'm gonna go halfway on that square. Honestly, like, what I would do in a real world situation is I'd cut this in half and use the mirror modifier. It's honestly, it does help, but to not confuse you guys, to keep this super simple, I'm just going through this process super duper vanilla. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a centerpiece. So I'm going to do Control R, and then boom. Very cool. And yeah, that's looking pretty solid. I'd like to give it a little bit of a lip on the bottom. So what I'm going to do is going to Control R there, and I'm going to bring that up as such. Yeah. Very cool. Another thing I'd like to do is put a little bit of a detail to these centerpieces here, and you'll see why in a minute. So I'm going to do Control B, and I'm going to bevel that. I love the beveling tool. It does a lot of really cool stuff. So definitely don't forget it. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to select all the faces I want to extrude. All the edges, all the faces. Yeah. Click, click, click. Lots of clicking, lots of thinking. Oh my gosh, does your brains ever get fried trying to think of this stuff? Yeah, it happens to everybody, including my own brain. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do I'm gonna do an Alt E, and I'm gonna extrude the faces along those normals. Looks like something weird's going on here. And I know why. We're going to do that proportional edit. No, not, I'm just kidding. Not proportional editing. It's offset even, and it's still being weird on those sides. And that's okay. What we can do is we can snap that. Maybe I'm bugging a little bit. Yeah, we can totally snap that. So for example, let's use that snapping tool. Oh, wait. I had the proportional editing on. Hold, please hold. Alt E, faces along normals. No, it did the same thing. Okay. Yep, that's fine. Okay, so now let's play around with the snapping. I'm going to turn on my snapping tool. I am going to make sure this is on center, and then I wanted to use Vertex. So if I were to select this face, right, and oh, I see. It's a little strange. Let's problem solve here. I know exactly what's going on. I need this to be inset. Let's try this. So for example, yeah. So for example, I'm gonna press I. That's not what we want. So we're going to turn off individual, and then we're going to turn this down a bit. Oof. I don't like the way that looks. No me gusta. I don't like that bottom piece. Hold on. I feel like there needs to be another edge loop on this side. What do you guys think? Another edge loop along this side? Let's do it. Because why the heck not? Actually, I'm gonna do this side only just to see. No, still. Problem solving. Let's do this. Yeah, so basically these bottom pieces is pulling. It should be even all around, but because of the way the geometry is, and it's not supported down this way, that might be why I'm having my issues. So let's try putting some edge loops just for fun. So I'm gonna do K, knife tool, Z, because sometimes, having that support is really super duper important. So let's give it what it needs, possibly. And if not, that was worth a try. And these are the things that we run into all the time, pro or not pro. Okay, see what happens if we give it some. So let's try it. Alrighty. A little better. You see that support gave it a little something to work with. Not bad, but I don't like this bottom piece here. I could just select. If I were to select this, and I were to press scale Z0, that will straighten that out just a smidge. And if I were to scale along the Y, no, I'll just take these verts, scale it along the Y. That should give me pretty decent geometry. And I can turn on snapping, press G, Z, and I snap there. Not too shabby. Oh, and I forgot I had symmetry on too. Ooh, so many things happening. All right, so what I'm going to do, I'm gonna bring out the big guns. Alrighty, so I'm gonna do Control R, and I'm going to, yep, turn that off. Then what I can do is turn this guy, and with my face selection tool, I delete faces. I like to work this way anyways, and you guys might as well see it. So what I do is I'm going to take this back into object mode and add my modifier. I'm going to do my mirror modifier, and it is along the wrong axis. Oh my goodness. I have, all right, so this is also another issue we run across. When we're trying to use our modifiers, what happens sometimes is, let's say, because I rotated that 90-degree angle, it kept that information. So I'm going to do Control Z. And now that I have the 90-degree angle, I'm going to do Control A, and I'm going to freeze all transforms. And now if I were to apply that modifier, it should work. And there you go. It works. Definitely keep that in mind. Applying that applying those transforms is super, super duper, 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 duper important. So, okay. So let's get back to it. Let's see how that worked for us. So I'm going to start doing my extrusions again. And be mindful when I do my extrusions on the inside of this mid piece, it's going to have faces in here that I'll need to delete. So keep that in mind. Ugh. I know what my issues are. We need supporting geometry. All right, let's try that. Oh yeah. Okay, let's get back to that. There we go. Nope. Just kidding. What the heck? All right. And now Alt E, extrude faces along normals, and it's still doing that weird thing. Because oh yeah, exactly. We are starting over, deleting, starting over again, and all that fun stuff. And I think this is the reason why, guys. Oh my god. Oh yeah, there we go. It's a little better. Now I have something going on. Alrighty, cool. But I definitely do need to do offset even. Fantastic. It did curl up on the side here. That's because there's probably additional supports that we don't need. However, I am going to claim this pretty much a success. Yeah. Oh yeah. But you see, these are things, like I said, you come across and you troubleshoot, you try to figure out how these shapes work out, stuff like that. Like, it's really important to know how to do that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to actually scale Z and then press 0 so that everything is straightened out at the bottom there. And yeah, I think that, yeah, that came out pretty solid. What I'd like to do, before I do anything else is I'd like to clean up this geometry. And the reason for that is because this can definitely block you from doing some cool stuff. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select these faces, clean it up. There we go. All right, cool. Nice. And then I'm going to absolutely apply that modifier. Going into object mode first, apply. All right, nice. Now let's find these middle guys here. Actually, I'm going to do Shift Alt. Oh, no, it didn't go in the right direction. That's fine. I'll just do Control. And I'm going to do Shift, Control. And I'd like to extrude this as well, just for a little bit of more character. Right, guys? Yeah. Sounds good to me. Okay. And now what I'd also like to do is I'd like to add a little more character to this as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do some shaping. So for example, I'm going to // I'm going to take these guys and let's see. I'm going to select these corners, give it a little more flair. So I'm going to do my proportional editing, of course, and then I'm going to press S to scale. And I'm going to bring that out. G, Z. Now, this is looking pretty darn good if you ask me. Oh yeah. So I'd like to actually take this middle part too. So I'm going to do Shift Alt, select that middle guy, and press S to scale. Actually, no, I'm just kidding. Not select that. S to scale. Nope. Or how about I just select the top? G, Z, and there we go. Oh, she's looking fabulous. Right? Like, and that's the thing, you could do it too. You all can absolutely do it. And you see the struggle is real all throughout. And it's all about problem solving. How do we make sure it's not tiny when it gets into the world? Well, that's why I bring in my friend so that we know it's not super duper tiny. I usually like to keep one of these around just so I can understand the space, right? And this is a good indicator of that. And I'll absolutely send this to you guys afterwards, after I'm done modeling this guy. So you can, texture it, make it your own, really study it. Yeah, I'll send this to you afterwards. No, I'm not storing this little guy anymore. That'll be funny to oh. So on the right-hand side, you have your hierarchy that you can turn on and off items, right? And you can have folders. So like theoretically, you could organize a whole asset list inside these folders. And like say, for example, this one's called demo. I'll just call this avatar, right? And I'm going to turn that off. And let's say I want to add another folder, which is called the scene collection. I'm going to right click and create new collection. And it says collection 2. I'm going to double click on that and I'm going to call this treasure chest. And then I'm going to take these guys and I'm going to just boop, drop them in. I can close it and I could turn it off. And then I could absolutely start a new folder and right click on the hierarchy here, new collection, and call this treasure, because you're going to basically fill this treasure chest with all the magical stuff you want to see in it. Okie dokie. So let's finish this treasure chest so I can get it to you so you can get to work. So now we're going to need, what do you think we need on this? We need a very important thing on this guy here. Somebody tell me. The lock. Yes, absolutely. We need that lock. So I'm going to go ahead. Some handles would be really, really cute. And the handles could be easily made for sure. For example, what I can do, and I can go to orthographic view. You see this guy right here at the bottom. That is called the 3D cursor. And that can actually play a really important role in your building experience. So for example, let's say I want a cube to magically appear right here, right? So I'm going to do Shift, right click, and I'm going to bring my cursor there. And as you can see, it went right onto the surface. I'm going to go back to my orthographic view, and I'm going to do Shift A, Mesh, Cube. And as you can see, I just placed the cube where I needed it to be, right? Super duper helpful. I'm going to scale this down, and I'm going to scale it by Y. Make sure it's not crashing through the inside. It is. I can absolutely tab to edit mode and nudge this out of sight. So I'm going to do G, X, and there we go. Now I have a little, how do I make it go back to the middle of the grid? Well, that is really, really important to know. What I can do is I'm going to do control, actually, no, just kidding. I'm going to do back to object mode. I can do Shift S. And once I have this pie menu up, there's a lot of really cool selections. Selection to cursor is really cool because that means if I have something in outer space and I want it to go right where the cursor is, I could use this selection to, this is another selection to cursor, selection to active. So anything active, the selection will go to, selection to grid, meaning that it will take your selection and bring to grid. But what we want is cursor to world origin. This is the number one thing that you will use. So I'm going to do cursor to origin, and then boom, it's back to the center, very, very center of the grid. And in horizon terms, that is called 0, 0, 0. Alrighty, so Alexander, I'm definitely going to leave the teeth and tongue to you because I'm almost at time, but I would definitely enjoy seeing what you do with this guy. You can make it into your own, make it how cool you want it. Um, also, I did want that cursor back there, but it's okay. I'm going to just go ahead and shift, and I'm going to just select this point here, and I'm going to do Shift A, and I'm going to just make a quick before I scale this is really important. Do not touch this. Fix the geometry first. You don't need it to be this expensive. I'm going to leave this at, yeah, 12 is good. Minor segments, we could leave that. 10 is fine. And yeah, I'm gonna just scale this. I'm going to press that period key so I can zoom in really nicely. And then I can rotate it. So I'm going to do R, and I'm going to rotate it along the Y-axis. And as you can see, now I've got something going on, G and then Z. And I'm going to leave it like that. I'm not going to do anything else. I'm going to let you guys do the meat and potatoes, but you get the idea. Also, of course, I'm going to need that lock. I don't know if I should leave you guys to it and make your own locks. But what I'm going to do is, like I said, I'm running out of time. I'm gonna do Shift A. Let's do another cube. I'm gonna scale this down. And I'm going to scale this by the Y-axis. Put that like that. And what I'd like to do, take this into edit mode, and then I am going to Control R, turn off that proportional editing because sometimes it messes me up. And I'm going to do some things like, for example, I'm going to bring up the number of cuts. And then I'm going to shape this into something. So I'm going to do G, Z. And then I'm going to do my edge select mode. And I'm going to do S to scale along the X axis. And then I'm going to G, C, and Inset. And that's fine. It's all weird like that. I actually welcome it this time, and I'm going to press E to extrude. And that's pretty solid. I could do a keyhole. However, I do feel like that keyhole can absolutely be texture based, keeping this super duper low poly, because we are conscious of how many polys we use for our item. So why not have that painted in? I think that would be just fine, because then if we would have to add some more edge loops. But yeah, here we are. And I'm going to return this guy back to that world origin. Small assets. Well, let's take a look at what we have so far with this one asset. So I'm going to go ahead and open up my statistics. And right now we're looking at 621 vertices. That is not bad for a low poly item. However, we're going to, if we want to do shade smoothing, we definitely do need to add bevels. For an item like this, I would keep it under 2000 verts. I think 2000 is a good way to. There are average limits in the world. I definitely would not go above 400K verts, because that will start freezing headsets. And remember, we want to optimize for smooth gameplay. So definitely. And also your textures, and I've definitely learned this the hard way, is that you have to be sure that those textures are not above 2K, because things will go crazy. And if you are using UIs, if you are making UIs, definitely keep those UI elements very, very low too. So yeah, that's super duper important. And yeah, I think that's it, guys. So I'm gonna press save, and I'm going to send this to you. How many 2K textures can we use? A handful. Like I've seen big games use up to 35 textures. So I won't say which, but I know for a fact they've used up to 35 textures. With that said, it is best to do some to do texture atlases. Use the least textures as possible. In this file in particular, I do have some hidden textures in here. So if I were to select that, right, and I go down, I do have my textures in here that you can use to color this guy if you like, if you know how to use the texture atlas to color this. So in order to extract it from here, and I could actually bundle it up together, but let's say, for example, you get an item like this, you can absolutely go to the UV editing, and you can browse these textures here. And let's say you want to extract this, and this is really important to know, especially if you're using assets outside. You could go to image and save as, and you could save this out as a PNG. You could do that for all the textures that is attached to your blend file. And let's say you were to go to send this file to someone fully textured. You could do file, external data, and automatically pack. I would say do that every time because that, ooh, good job, Marlena. Yeah. Would be two pieces to have the lid open. Yes. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so another thing about that this 3D cursor is you could set the origin to your guy. So what I'd like to do is I'm going to do Shift A, actually Control A. And I'm going to set these transforms because I'm going to need this to move a certain way. If I press Shift, right click, you can see I set my cursor here. And check this out. I'm going to do Object, Set Origin to 3D Cursor, and check it out. So if I press Rotate, or nope, I'm just kidding. I'm going to do Rotate along the X-axis and look. I can absolutely have that treasure chest open and ready to take on all the treasure or become a mimic and eat you alive. So you could do a lot of things with this 3D cursor. And what else? Press save. Remember, guys, the avatar is in this folder. If you just press the eyeball, you can see it pop up.